I put a spell on you.
And now you're mine. You can't stop the things I do.
Now the witch is back.
Jaguar, I'm trying to make the, you acted like you didn't want to be in it now. Hey Cakenistas, it's Marisha. We have to celebrate the new release of Hocus Pocus 2 with a cake, of course. We are going to be making Winnie Sanderson. I love Bette Midler. I've literally been watching this movie my entire life, and over the years it has become a cult classic, so it's only right that we do a cake. Jaguar, I will let you out in a second, my goodness. If you have not done so yet, please subscribe to the channel, press on the notification bell, and let's get started. Okay, Cake Nieces, this is the picture that I'm going to be referencing. This is the first face cake that I am making, freehand, no template, no nothing. I'm flying blind, as they say, so let's just roll with it. I'm going to cut out the face. I do know to make like a grid on the face, and that way we can figure out where her eyes, nose, and mouth are going to go. You're supposed to make a T or a cross, and then really the eyes are supposed to go over the center line, but I didn't do that here, so that's fine. I'm just going off of what I see on the picture. I chiseled out where her eyes are going to go, and now I'm beginning to form the cheekbones and the nose. It looks like an alien, and I feel like when it looks like an alien, I'm on the right track. So I'm using my X-Acto knife because it's very sharp, very fine, and also my palette spatula, and I'm just shaving away banana cake. It's actually a decent cake, and I just had it in the freezer so that it would be carvable. I'm taking all of the scraps and I'm going to make cake dough with it just by combining some frosting. But before I mess with the cake dough, I'm going to give my cake a thin layer of frosting. And then I'm going to take some of that cake dough and I'm going to form her cheeks. She has big cheeks, big ball cheeks, and she's also kind of making like a face, and it's making her cheeks poke out even more. And I'm also going to make her nose. I would usually do this part out of fondant, but I figured I would do it out of cake this time. So between the frosting and the cake dough, I've created myself like a perfect little putty situation made out of food. I'm going to add some cake dough to her brow bone to give her face some more structure, and I also definitely need to bring down the bridge of her nose. It's looking a little stocky right now. Once I'm done that, I covered the entire cake in frosting and put it in the freezer for about an hour. This is my favorite part. I can go in with my fingers. I dip my fingers in some water and I'm able to smooth out all of that frosting. It's still frozen enough, but yet soft enough to where I can mold the frosting and the cake to exactly how I want it to look. I used a fondant tool to poke in her nostrils. That's always fun to do. I am going to create her lips and her eyes out of fondant. I have leftover yellow fondants. And that way I can really shape it without worrying about those features collapsing. I made this color fondant by adding a little bit of brown gel dye and pink gel dye to my homemade marshmallow fondant. I draped it over the cake, which is still very, very cold, and now I can form that fondant to the cake. You want to move extremely fast, especially with homemade fondant. It dries out a little bit faster, and it's kind of like a race of who's gonna win. Is it gonna be the fondant or is it gonna be me? It's usually a little bit of both. As fast as you see me moving right now, that's me in real life. Not really, but I wish. She does poke out her lips a little bit in the picture that I'm seeing. I believe she does. I don't really know. Either that or her lips are dry, but I made it on the cake. Why not? As you can see, my fondant tools are doing majority of the work. I'm just using them as I see fit. I'm gonna make the whites of her eyes by cutting out some white fondant with a piping tip. And we definitely need to make her some eyelids so that she looks a little bit more relaxed out here now that she is back. So I'm making bottom and top lids. I said that like it was a shocker because we don't have bottom lids. But I'm just using a very thin piece of fondant, and you can see it almost looks like a bag, and she's actually very smooth under the eyes. I made some what I call fondant clay, and it's just fondant mixed with water. I put that under the eye and I smooth it out with my finger and water to make the seam disappear. You will notice all of a sudden she looks like she is drenched in sweat. I mean soaking, like me after a hard day's work. Her nose looks like it's running and everything just because of condensation from the cake being frozen. She's going to dry as the day goes on. But I'm going to paint on her cherry red lips, and I'm doing that with some red gel dye and some vodka. I did this cake very literally. In the movie, her makeup artist would have used her foundation or concealer to blank out her lips and then create new ones with lipstick, and I actually made that in the cake because I'm crazy. That's my little practice space up there because it's going to be covered later, just to see how I'm going to dab that onto her cheeks. I don't want it to look blotchy, but it is very wet, so I'm going to let it dry and go back to her cheeks later on. Now, one thing that Marisha can do is make a mean eyeliner, okay? I can do a wing line like nobody's business. I was trying not to, she doesn't have a wing. She's got serious eyelashes this movie. It's crazy. They're darker. So I'm using some brown gel dye to paint on some eyelashes, and these will shadow the fondant eyelashes that I'm going to make later on to make them look more voluminous. Her eyes are actually brown, but the rims of them are very dark. So I'm using black gel dye as well to make them look dark. While we are at this angle, you can see where I marked the widow's peak. I mapped out where I want her hairline to go so that it would be easy application later on. Going back to those eyelashes, I gave her individuals because, yeah, she's kind of fabulous, especially in this new movie. It's easier for me to just take bits of brown fondant, roll it out, and then just have it sitting there so that I can dab a teeny bit of water on that lash line. This is so like couture right now. And then add the lashes. Now we need a fluffy brush and some brown petal dust to make her eyeshadow and deep set eyelids. I noticed that the left one was a little bit too much, so I had to take some of that away. But it's also going to help us contour out her nose area, her bridge area, and her eyelids. Now I've already moved on to the hair. This is some of my leftover sweet potato pound cake. It looks like she's rough and tough with her afro puffs right now. I turned that into a cake dough with some frosting to add that to her head, and then we're going to add some red fondant, which I did add some brown too, and then off to the side I have more of a burnt orange fondant. I'm rolling out this fondant and I'm placing it right up against the hairline. And if you don't really understand her hairstyle, it's kind of like two buns with the front of her hair in the center being pulled back into those two buns also in like a very messy way, like two messy buns. I had to stare at many a picture to decipher this hairstyle. Now I can give her that gorgeous curly wavy texture that she is known for. Take individual strands of fondant and curl them and swirl them and wave them all throughout her hair. Now I don't want her to look like she has a lineup from the barbershop, so I made sure to add some little curly cues to her hairline as well. You know what was the saddest part in the whole movie, the first one? Zachary Banks, and when his parents were like, "What did you do to my Zachary Banks?" And he came up in cat form talking about round, and they were like, "Get away, you beast." It's like, first off, why does the cat have to be a beast? It is not that serious. Secondly, that is your son, and that was just so crazy. Like, I wish they just would have looked at the cat. I don't know. Doesn't it just make you want to look at animals like, no? Okay, let's go back to the cake. I'm going to define the hairline and the strands to make her hair look a little bit thicker and to give it some more depth. Now she needs ears. Did any of y'all wonder when I was going to actually make the ears? Did anybody not notice that she didn't have ears at all? I have some of that leftover fondant and I'm going to form her ears. I'm not the best ear maker and I don't really care to make the best ears. It's going to be on there. I'm going to cover it with some hair and it's fine. I can roll out some more red fondant and cover up the seam, because in the first film she had a lot of sideburn hair. In the second film it looked like somebody razored the sideburns away, and I was like, what in the world happened? I may be the only one who would even notice something like that, but you could really consider that to be a true fan. She really has gorgeous gold earrings, so we are going to give her some gorgeous gold earrings. I'm using a silicone mold, and I'm putting a little bit of fondant in there, and I'm going to apply that to the ear. Then I'm going to paint it with a mixture of vodka and bronze luster dust. I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'm going to come back. Now initially I was not going to give her eyebrows because she is not supposed to have eyebrows, but it looked very strange without them. So I did add a very thin eyebrow. I went back in and added more blush to her cheeks, and then I decided last minute to make those teeth. I wasn't going to do it initially, but some things just make the character. I literally got lipstick on her teeth, by the way. Teeth don't make her, she makes the teeth. And then lastly, I'm going to finish her earrings off with some 14 karat gold leaf. The gold on top of the bronze will give it a very antique look. Yes, this cake has real gold earrings. Couture and the Winifred Sanderson cake. Bye guys. Have you seen the new movie on Disney Plus? Please let me know what you thought. I still feel like the first one is the best. However, I love that there's a backstory. I love that there's a new witch. It was so vibrant and fun to watch. I posted this picture on my Facebook fan page and here on YouTube, and I got some really good guesses, but only one of them was right. So that is going to be the Cakenista comment of the day. Amber Michelle said Winifred, nothing else, Winifred. Congrats, you won the Cakenista comment of the day. That is all for this video. If you haven't done so, please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and check out my Slappy the Dummy video, my Halloween versus Harvest video, my Pennywise cake. So I will see you guys soon. Bye, Cakenistas. Come on. Let's go.